We're going to be doing our first cross-country trip of 2025 on US 70. Come on, let's go. Alright everyone, today for our first cross-country highway of the year, we're going to be doing US Highway 70. US 70 is a local road to me, and it is also pretty interesting in some other states, especially with the scenery. And as for New Mexico and Tennessee, they actually seem to have outdone themselves and actually signed good stuff on US Highway 70. Meanwhile, NC DOT for some reason neglects it in like western North Carolina, which is not good. So, let us get started with this long cross-country highway. Woohoo! But first, you're watching TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free extra request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. As you can see here, this is the map of US Highway 70 as it starts at a junction with US Highway 60 in eastern Arizona, and it travels through 6 states before ending on the North Carolina coast in the town of Atlantic. And as you can see here, this blue part is part of a route I've been on personally. So with that, I'm going to be talking about eastbound US 70. So you begin here in Globe, Arizona at a junction with US Highway 60. And like always, Arizona is doing a wonderful job here as we're getting signed for both Tucson and Safford, which are definitely the correct choices. And when Arizona 77 splits off from us, it is getting signed for Tucson while we're getting signed for Safford. In our first mileage run, we get Safford as our primary from 74 miles away. And after going through San Carlos, we pass by another mileage line and we still get Safford as our primary from 69 miles away. Here in Safford, we're meeting with US 191, which at one point was US 666. And it is now going to become concurrent with us as we head through downtown Safford. And let us take a look to see what this direction sign has for us on for 70 and 191. Oh, looks like we're now getting signed for Lordsburg, which is, I think, a good choice. Here we split off from 191, as 191 is going to be continuing north of here to Interstate 40 and other points in Arizona, while we're going to be continuing east towards Lordsburg, New Mexico. In our next mileage run, we do get Lordsburg as our primary from 66 miles away. And then the lowest into the after that mileage run, we are now entering into the state of New Mexico. And man, New Mexico has one awesome welcome sign here. Why can't they do this on their interstates too? But New Mexico is doing what they usually do, and we get a not so good mileage sign when we first enter in the state. Sure, Deming is on Interstate 10, and it's where we meet US 180, but it's not as big as Las Cruces. This should be either Las Cruces or El Paso. No need for Deming. You don't even get a pull-through for or we do get a pull-through, but we don't get a control city for Interstate 10. So New Mexico, why in the world are you signing a town where we don't even get any information for Interstate 10? Sign Las Cruces or El Paso. Here in Lordsburg, we're meeting with 10, and we're going to become concurrent with it as we head towards Las Cruces. And on our first mileage line after joining 10, we get Las Cruces as our primary from 110 miles away. Kind of iffy about this. Personally, you do not need exit 29 here. You can just throw it out the window, as you can put Deming, Las Cruces, and El Paso. And here in Deming, we are meeting with US Highway 180, and 180 East is going to become concurrent with us. And at exit 82B, there is a pull-through 410, but it does not have any control city. Come on, New Mexico. But our next mileage time, they pull out a rare W here, and we get El Paso as our primary now. Well done, New Mexico. Here in Las Cruces, US 70 is splitting off from Interstate 10 and 180, as we just get the Kentucky treatment, which makes sense because we are about to go through downtown Las Cruces. Here we are crossing over the Rio Grande, and we get some awesome scenery here as we're crossing over the river. And here is downtown Las Cruces, and once again it has some awesome scenery. I'd love to visit this place one day. What? New Mexico pulling out another W again? Interstate 25 is actually being signed for good places? Wow. Yay, let's go New Mexico. Let's go. And after passing by Interstate 25, we get Alamogordo as our primary from 54 miles away. And for some reason we get Oregon only from half a mile. This is very interesting because I've only seen like 3 or 4 mileage signs ever with fractions on them. This is pretty strange. On our way to Alamogordo, we actually get some stunning scenery here on US Highway 70. And we actually also pass by White Sands National Park, and this is one of the places that I'd love to visit if I ever get to travel US 70 here in the West. Because this White Sands kind of looks like snow when you enter into the park. Anyways, here in Alamogordo, we're meeting with US 54, as it's being signed side for El Paso, which definitely is the correct choice, while 54 and 70 are now getting signed for Tularosa. Here still in Alamogordo, we're meeting with US 82, and it is very faded here on this sign, but we can see in the distance that there is a US 82 here. Also, we're now getting signed for Reduso, too, along with Tularosa. In our next mileage time, we get Tularosa as our top line, and then Reduso as our secondary, and then Carrizozo as our primary from 57. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. They're favoring US 54 here, but Reduso is actually bigger than Carrizozo, so I prefer just to see a two-liner here. Maybe you can start signing Carrizozo after 54 splits off from 70. But personally, I'd just like to see a two-liner here. Here's where US 54 splits off from US 70, as we're now getting signed for Reduso and Roswell now. And next mileage time, we get Reduso on the top line, and Roswell is our primary from 104 miles away. Which is definitely a great choice because Roswell is a pretty big city in eastern New Mexico. And here in Reduso, we're meeting with US 380, and we're now going to be concurrent with it as we head towards Roswell. Here in Roswell, we're meeting with 285, and we're splitting off from 380, as we're now getting signed east for Portales. I mean, that's alright. But New Mexico, we're pulled out another W as we're getting signed for Clovis as our next primary. Let's go. Here in Clovis, we're actually meeting with US 60 once again, along with US 84, and we're now getting signed for Texaco, Farwell, and Amarillo. What? We're being signed for Amarillo? That sounds awesome, New Mexico. You're totally exceeding my expectations today. With Amarillo and all those other signs, well done. But our next mileage time, we get Muleshoe as our primary from 30 miles away. I prefer to see Amarillo come back, please. And right at the New Mexico and Texas state line, US 60 splits off from us as it head toward Amarillo. And we're going to be continuing east towards Muleshoe. Yeehaw! It's Texas time as we get our first mileage sign with Muleshoe as our primary from 20 miles away. I do not like to see that. I prefer to see Plainview instead, or maybe Lubbock for 84. And here's where we split off from US 84, as 70 is now going to be concurrent with Texas Route 214 North here. But let us see what we're signed for at this junction. Are you kidding me? Why in the world is Texas favoring the state route over US Highway 70? No, That should be Plainview, not Friona. Friona, like I said, is on 214. Sign something for 70, Texas. Come on, you're doing a bad job here. For next mileage sign, we do get the entire Earth being signed at 18 miles away. Huh? But we do get Plainview as our primary from 59 miles away, too. Which is definitely a correct choice because that's where we meet Interstate 27. Here we are meeting with 385 in the middle of nowhere, Texas. And then here in Plainview, we're actually meeting with Interstate 27, along with US 87, and we can see in the distance that we have a control city on our overpass here. This won't be the first strange thing that we'll be seeing on this route here. And then our next mileage time, we get Matador as our primary again from 41 miles away. No, Texas, you know what? You want to know what the population of Matador is? It's only like 570 people. This should be Paducah, Texas, not Matador. Here in Florida, we actually meet with our good old friend US 62, and we're doing concurrent with it as we head towards Paducah, Texas. And the next mileage time, we do get Paducah as our primary from 63 miles away. Now that's how you recover, Texas. Here in Paducah, we're splitting off from US 62 as it'll be joining with US 83. And we're going to be continuing east here, but let us see what we're signed for at this junction. Are you kidding me? Why in the world are we being signed for Crowell? Our next major town we're going to be passing through is Vernon. Sign Vernon. But guess what? On the next mileage time, we do get Vernon as our primary from 67 miles away. So TexDot, why in the world are you being like NC Dot there? That should have been Vernon at the 83 junction. Here in Vernon, we're meeting with 287, and we're going to become concurrent with 287 as we bypass the city. And here in downtown Vernon-ish, we're meeting with US 183 and 283 as they're getting signed for Seymour and Altus. And here's where 70 and 183 splits off from 283 and 287 as we're getting signed for Frederick and Ardmore. And in our last mileage sign in the great state of Texas, we get Frederick on the top line and Ardmore as our primary from 125 miles away. And here we are crossing over the Red River into the state of Oklahoma. So let us see how Oklahoma will do on US Highway 70. Here we split off from US Highway 183, and our first mileage time we get Grandfield. What happened to Ardmore? We were being signed Ardmore from like 120 miles away. Now we're getting signed for Grandfield? I've never even heard of Grandfield, Oklahoma. Plus, I'm pretty sure Grandfield is way smaller than Ardmore. And Oklahoma, why in the world are you being Arkansas here? We do not need Oklahoma 54 here. And after passing through Grandfield, we get another mileage time. Now we get Interstate 44 junction on the top line, and we get Wakira as our primary from 41 miles away. The only reason why we're signing for Wakira is because of US 81. No, that should be Wakira and Ardmore. Sign Ardmore, Oklahoma. This is not okay. Are you kidding me? To add more salt into the wound, we're meeting with Interstate 44 and we're getting signed for Wakira, and the 44 West is getting signed for Burke-Burnett. Burke-Burnett is not in Oklahoma. It's literally the first town in Texas and is more of like an exurb of Wichita Falls. Just sign Wichita Falls, Oklahoma. Jeez, why are you being such a bad DOT right now? Here's where 277 and 281 splits off from US Highway 70, as they actually joined us from Interstate 44. And finally, here in Wakira, we're meeting with US 81 here, and we can see that there is a mileage sign up ahead, so let us see what it says. Finally, Ardmore comes back after like, what, 70-something miles of it being gone? Here in the Ardmore area, we're actually going to become concurrent with Interstate 35, and just like Interstate 70 and US 35, Interstate 35 and US 70 are concurrent with each other. And we get an awesome control city of Dallas. And a little ways down the road, US 70 splits off from Interstate 35 as we're making sign for Medill and Ardmore. Here you are meeting with US Highway 77 here in Ardmore. Oklahoma, can I ask you one question here? Are we concurrent with any other highways? No, I do not think so. So why in the world do you have a mileage sign where we have both Medill and State Highway 191 on the same mileage sign at the same distance? The only reason why you need a same distance mileage sign is if two highways are concurrent and they're going separate ways. You're on one highway going to one town. This should be Medill and Durant. Sign Durant. Sign Kevin Durant on this mileage sign. Here in Medill, we're meeting with US 177 on Oklahoma 199. And then here in downtown Medill, we're not splitting off from Oklahoma 199, and we're now being concurrent with US 377 Oklahoma 99, and we finally get signed for Durant. Here is where 377 and Oklahoma 99 splits off from US Highway 70. And our next mileage sign, we get Durant as our primary from 27 miles away. Why can't it be signed from Ardmore? Here in Durant, we're meeting with both US 69 and US Highway 75 as they're also getting signed for Dallas. And if you want to check out a cool series of US 75 made both by AR Nathan and Todd from Control City Freak, it's in the top right corner here. I recommend watching those two videos. And then here, still in Durant, we're now getting signed east for Hugo, which definitely is a correct choice because Hugo's a pretty big city in southeastern Oklahoma. And on our way to Hugo, we meet with US 271 here, and 271 is going to make concurrent with US 70 as we head towards Hugo. And guess what? US 271 is the, hey, I know this highway. US Highway 271 is a short 297-mile route of US Highway 71 as it runs from the city of Tyler, Texas all the way up to Fort Smith, Arkansas. It is one of three children of US Highway 71, the other two being 171 and 371. And personally, I've been on 371 myself, and US 171 is more of an orphan than an actual child route of US 71. Some of other highways that 271 meets is US 70 and 80 along with Interstate 20 and some other highways. It doesn't go through much, but there are some cool scenery pictures along the route, which is pretty cool. So that's a little bit about US Highway 271, and let us get back to US 70. And on our next mileage sign, we get Hugo on the top line and Idabel as our primary from 50 miles away, which I think is a good choice. I mean, prefer if you want to do both, if you want to do towns for both 70 and 271, I wouldn't mind seeing Idabel and Paris, Texas for on this sign here, but Hugo's still an alright choice. Here we meet with the Indian Nation Turnpike, and guess what? Oklahoma fulfills my wish, and we get both Idabel and Paris on our next sign. Here's where 271 splits off from US 70, as it's now getting signed for Paris, Texas, which definitely is the correct choice. While Business 271 will take you back into Hugo. Here in Idabel, we're meeting with US 259 and Oklahoma Highway 3. And we're not going to become concurrent as we bypass the city. Here we split off from 259 and Oklahoma 3 as we're now going to be heading towards Arkansas. In our last mileage sign in the state of Oklahoma, we get DeQueen as our primary from 32 miles away. So it looks like that Oklahoma went from bad, and then they finally flattened out to become a good state once again. Now that is okay. And we're now entering into the state of Arkansas. Oh boy, let us see what Arkansas has to offer. In our first mileage time, we just get a one-liner for DeQueen, so I wonder why they're just signing DeQueen. Here in DeQueen, we're meeting with US 71 here, along with 70 Business, and we're now getting signed for Hot Springs, which definitely is the correct choice. And 71 is actually concurrent with us, as we are now getting signed for both Texarkana and Hot Springs. Well done, Arkansas. Here's where US 71 splits off from US Highway 70, or should I say 70 splits off from 71 here, as 70 is going to be heading towards Hot Springs. And then our next mileage time, we get Hot Springs as our primary from 80 miles away. And here we are being with US 278 and 278 and 70 are being concurrent with here. And I did not know Arkansas DOT was a big fan of Star Wars here. And we split off from US Highway 278 and we're not getting signed for, oh no. It's even our next mileage sign, but at least this Kirby actually has a decent sized population than the one in Pennsylvania. I mean, you could throw in an argument because of Arkansas 2784, but I prefer to see Hot Springs here because Hot Springs is way bigger than Kirby, Arkansas. And then here in Kirby, we're meeting with Arkansas 27 and 84. As 27 will take you to the Crater Diamonds State Park, while 70 is going to be heading towards Hot Springs. For our next mileage time, we get Glenwood as our primary from 9 miles away. So this one is as bad as this Kirby is as bad as the one in Pennsylvania because we're getting a bad mileage sign. We do not need Junction Arkansas 84 when we already just met it. It should be Glenwood and Hot Springs. And then always up the road, we finally do get Glenwood and Hot Springs as our primary. Here in Hot Springs, we're meeting with US Highway 270, or only child route, and we're now getting signed for Malvern. Here is where 270 splits off from US Highway 70 at exit 9, via B, and it's getting signed like Kentucky treatment for some reason. What? I thought 270 left us here. Why in the world is Arkansas pulling a Virginia moment here? And it's getting an air shield too, so this is just beyond confusing. Here's where we get signed for Little Rock here in northern Hot Springs, and that is definitely a correct choice. And on the outskirts of Little Rock, we are meeting with Interstate 30, and we're now going concurrent with it as we head towards Little Rock. Here on Interstate 30, we're meeting with 430, and for some reason at this pull-through, there is no mention of US Highway 70, only 67. Here we meet with Arkansas's 440, North Carolina's is better, along with Interstate 530, and there's still no mention of US Highway 70 here. Here we go. We split off from Interstate 30 in downtown Little Rock as we're not getting the Kentucky treatment, which makes sense because, like I said, we're in downtown Little Rock. Here we are meeting with 440 once again, and this one just gets 2 I-40 for some reason, and not one of 40's controls. But just get an awesome westbound control city of Little Rock. And then here at the eastern junction of 440, we're now getting signed for Lanoke as our primary. Interesting. Now 440 east goes from 240 to 2S67. Wonder why. For our next mileage time, we get Carlisle as our primary. So what, Arkansas is now copying another place from Pennsylvania? What is the deal with them? And then further up the road, we just get another Junction Arkansas route. What is your deal with these, Arkansas? Why can't you just have normal control cities? And then here, our next mileage time, after passing through Carlisle, we get DeVal's Bluff as our primary from 12 miles away. I don't know how I feel about that. On our way to DeVal's Bluff, we actually meet with US Highway 63, and we're now getting signed for Brinkley and Stuttgart. In our next mileage time, we get Stuttgart as our primary, but that's for US 63. And again, we did not need the mention of Junction US 63, just do Stuttgart and Brinkley. We need something for US 70, Arkansas. And the years where US 63 splits off from US Highway 70 as we're now getting signed for DeVal's Bluff and Brinkley. In our next milestone, we get Junction US 49 as our primary. So when the world happened to Brinkley, Arkansas? Seriously, I'm gonna call you the Junction State, because you're signing so many junctions. In our next milestone, we do get Brinkley as our primary, but personally, I'd like to see something beyond Brinkley instead of just a two-liner with Junction US 49 and Brinkley. And here you go. Now this is how you do an actual mileage sign, Arkansas. This is a rare W here because we're not getting signed for Memphis proper. Not West Memphis, but Memphis. Anyways, on the outskirts of Brinkley, we're meeting with US Highway 49 and 49 North is going to be concurrent with us as we head towards Brinkley. And then here in downtown Brinkley, we split off from US Highway 49 and let us see where our next control city is. We get 4 cities are primary from 23 miles away. I'll give anyone cool points if you know the reference to this. And this is actually true because in Wheatley, we actually do get signed for West Memphis. So well done, Arkansas. Anyways, here in Forest City, we're meeting with Arkansas Highway 1 as it gets a lot of control cities as we're now heading towards West Memphis. Here we are meeting with US Highway 79, and 79 is going to be concurrent with us as we head towards West Memphis. And here is a cool look at downtown West Memphis along with Arkansas Highway 77. And Arkansas 77 and US 70 are the only 2 highways that should be signed for West Memphis. The only 2. No other highway. Because these are the only 2 highways that go through downtown West Memphis. Anyways, after passing through downtown, we're now merging into Interstate 55, where we meet concurrent with 55, 64, and 79 as we head towards Memphis proper. Here we are crossing over the Mississippi River into the state of Tennessee and Memphis. And this is the scene currently, and there is no Welcome to Tennessee sign, sadly. So here is where the current 64, 70, and 79 split off from 55 at exit 10 here. I mean, you can also do exit 11, but there's no like actual signs telling you where 64, 70, and 79 splits off from 55. And this is where supposedly 64, 70, and 79 turn onto 3rd Street here. And this is where 70 or 78 leaves because 78 was actually extended into Arkansas sometime in November of 2023. Then after going through downtown Memphis, which you can check out in my US 64 videos, we're now meeting with Interstate 240 here for the first time. And then after going through a little bit more Memphis, we actually meet the western terminus of US Highway 72. And for some reason, TDOT is not telling you this, that we're at US 72. And there is also no indicators of 64, 70, and 79 either. And then on the outskirts of Memphis, we're meeting with 240 once again, along with Interstate 40 here. And here's where US 64 splits off from US 70 and 79, as 64 will continue east, traveling the southern half of Tennessee, while 70 and 79 are going to be closely paralleling Interstate 40. In the next milestone, we get Brownsville as our primary from 43 miles away. I mean, that's alright. And then on the outskirts of Memphis, we're meeting with 269, and it'll take you over to Interstate 40, along with Collierville. And here in Brownsville, we're splitting off from US Highway 79, and we're now getting signed for Jackson, Tennessee. Interesting. But our next mileage sign, TDOT is actually pulling out the big guns here and signing Nashville. Nashville! They're signing Nashville from 128 miles away on a US highway. What? This is actually a rare TDOT US Highway W. Let's go. Here in Jackson, we're meeting with Interstate 40. We're also meeting with US Highway 45 here in the outskirts of Jackson. And then here in downtown, we're actually splitting off from US Highway 45, still in Jackson. And then we're also meeting with US Highway 412 on the other side, as 412 is actually going to be concurrent with us here. 412 is such a weird highway. I wonder why they named it or numbered it 412. It should be more like a US 56 or 156. No need for 412. Anyways, here you are meeting with Interstate 40 once again, and 412 is actually going to be joining with Interstate 40 here as they head towards Nashville. Here in Huntingdon, Tennessee, we're now getting a pull through for 70, as we're now getting signed for two northeastern places, Huntingdon and Camden. And then our next mileage time, we get another Nashville appearance at 104 miles away. So, well done, T-Dot. You're doing awesome on 70. You're arming with US Highway 641 in Camden, and it'll take you over to Interstate 40. And then T-Dot takes away our Nashville for some reason, and we get Waverly as our primary from 18 miles away. No. Where was Nashville? Where did it go? And here in the outskirts of Nashville, we're actually meeting with one of our split routes, US 70S. And let me tell you guys something. US 70 is one of the 9 US highways that do split into 2 separate routes. But for some reason, also keeps a mainline portion of US Highway 70. So the split routes are more of like an alternate route to both mainline 70. So I don't know why T-Dot is keeping these 2 split routes when one could be an alternate route and the other could be just a child of 70. Do not need both 70, 70N, and 70S. It just makes things confusing. Anyways, here you are meeting with Interstate 40 for another time. We haven't seen this before. And then here we are meeting with Tennessee Highway 155 on the outskirts of Nashville here. And here we are going under Interstate 440 in Nashville. And this is actually one cool looking bridge. And here we get an awesome view of the Nashville skyline. I actually was in Nashville last May and got some cool pictures of downtown. And then here is downtown Nashville, as we're now going to be turning onto Broadway here. And T-Dot's not telling you this, but this is actually US 41 and US 31 here in downtown Nashville. So that is pretty awesome. And then after going through downtown, we're actually passing under both Interstate 40 and 24 here. And sadly, we did not have a direct interchange with it. And then on the outskirts of Nashville, we're meeting with Tennessee Highway 155 once again, and it'll take you north into Opryland, so that's pretty cool. And on 155, we're now getting signed for Lebanon Pike in Donaldson. I think Donaldson is actually like more of a neighborhood of Nashville, while our actual control is Lebanon, which I think is a good choice. Anyways, on the outskirts of Nashville, we're now still getting signed east for Lebanon, which definitely is the correct choice. Here in Lebanon, we're meeting with US Highway 231, and I actually stopped in Lebanon back in my Springfield trip, and at a gas station to get some dinner, so that was pretty cool. And then here, still in Lebanon, we actually meet one of our other split routes, 70N, and this one is actually way less dominant than 70S, so this one could be like a child of 70, while 70S could be something like 70 alternate or something. Anyways, on Interstate 40 here in Lebanon, we're now getting signed east for Watertown, which I think is an alright choice. If you want to get to Knoxville, you'll probably stay on 40 here, which I actually did back in on my Springfield trip. And then here in Watertown, we're now getting signed for Alexandria as our next town from 7 miles away. And then here in Alexandria, we're now getting signed for Smithville. Interesting choice. For our next mileage time, we get Sparta as our primary from 40 miles away. This is Sparta! Here in Sparta, we're meeting with Tennessee Highway 111, along with the eastern terminus of 70S, which I think should be more 70 alternate. This here is in Crossville, Tennessee, where we with the ending to 70N, which I think should be like 170 or something. And 70 end will take you to 127 along with 70 east. And in fact, here's that actual junction with US Highway 127 here. And we can see that there's a mileage sign in the distance here. Hey, we get Knoxville now as our primary. Congratulations, T-Dot. You're doing awesome. Here are meeting in Rockwood with US Highway 27, and 27 and 70 are not going to become concurrent with us. And here we split off from US 27 as 27 is getting signed for Harriman at Knoxville, while 70 just gets signed for nothing. In theory, US 70 is also getting signed for Knoxville, but the reason why it's pointing the other direction is because of 27 being Interstate 40. And then here I'm meeting with Tennessee Highway 58, and we're actually now getting signed for Knoxville, while 58 is getting signed for Chattanooga? What? This is awesome! Tennessee is definitely blowing my expectations out of the water. Anyways, on the outskirts of Knoxville, we're meeting with 321, and 70 is going to be heading towards Knoxville still. And here we are meeting with US Highway 11, and unlike the 70 or 64 and 79 concurrency, I'm actually going to be skipping the 11 concurrency here because I already showed all what I wanted for downtown Knoxville in the 11 video. So if you want to check that out, it's in the top right corner here. And that was actually exactly a year ago, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, after going through downtown Knoxville and 11 splitting off into 11E and 11W, 25W and 7E are splitting off from 11E here to head towards Newport. And then for like the bajillionth time in the state of Tennessee, we're meeting with Interstate 40, and it gets good control cities once again. Now we're meeting with Tennessee Highway 113, and our next control city is Newport, which definitely is the correct choice, because it would be faster to take 40 to Asheville instead of staying on 70 and 25W. Here are meeting with US Highway 411 and 25W, and 70 are now being continuing towards Newport and Asheville. And here is where 25 re-emerges into 25 proper, and 70 and 25 are now going to continue towards Asheville. And here we are meeting 321 once again in front of this mileage sign here with Asheville in the as our primary. Well done, T-Dot. And always up the road, we're now still getting another mileage sign with Asheville as our primary, still at 53 miles away now. And we have finally entered into a last state. Oh boy, what does NC have to offer for us today? And here is our first junction in the state of North Carolina with North Carolina 209. And 70 and 25 are going to be continuing southeast towards Asheville and towards Interstate 26. Our next mileage time, we get Marshall on the top line at 15 miles away, and Asheville is our primary, still at 32. Let's go, NC Dot. You're starting off the state strong. Here you are meeting with North Carolina Highway 208, and even though I do live in North Carolina now, honestly, I think Virginia 208 is way better than North Carolina 208, in my opinion. And then on the outskirts of Asheville, we're actually meeting with 19 and 23, and they get great control cities of Johnson City and Asheville, while 25 Business is actually going to be taking you into downtown Weaverville. And then here, we split off from 23 and 19, and 26 is actually going to be joining with 240 West, but we're going to be joining with 74 Alternate and 240 East in here. And once we get onto 240 itself, we just get the Kentucky treatment and nothing else. I do not like this NC Dot. And here's an odd thing, because since there is no room to put the exit sign on the ground, they actually put it on the overpass here. So I've seen both a control city on an overpass and now an exit sign. So yeah, this is definitely weird. Here is where 70 splits off from 240 and it gets the Kentucky treatment, which makes sense because we're still basically in downtown Asheville. And we're also meeting with US Highway 25 here. Here I'm meeting with 240 once again, and on the outskirts of Asheville, we're actually meeting with the Blue Ridge Parkway. And since I couldn't find any next control city in Asheville, I'll just take a look onto the Blue Ridge Parkway to see if there is anything signed here. Oh, look at that! The Blue Ridge Parkway does give us a control city, and we're going to send these for Black Mountain, which I think is an alright choice. It has like 9,000 people, and plus we meet Interstate 40 along with North Carolina 9 there. In fact, here is North Carolina Highway 9 in front of this downtown Black Mountain and all those beautiful scenery. And we're now merging into Interstate 40 as we're going to be concurrent with it for a little while. Here is where we're splitting off from Interstate 40 as we're now getting signed for Old Fort. Fancy Dot, why in the world are you signing the next town that 70 passes through? Or where the 70 and 40 split is literally in Old Fort? Why can't you do Old Fort and Marion? Well, 40 should be getting Winston-Salem here. Put Marion on 70. Anyways, on the outskirts of Marion, we're meeting with North Carolina Highway 80 here, and we are going to be concurrent with it. Here in Marion, we're meeting with US Highway 221 along with North Carolina Highway 226, and both 221 and 226 will actually take you towards Interstate 40. And then on the outskirts of Marion, we get another mileage line with Morganton as our primary from 15 miles away. And we just get a one-liner here. Why can't you do Morganton and Hickory? Here in Morganton, we're meeting with North Carolina 18 and US 64 as we're now getting signed for Hickory, which definitely is the correct choice. Here we split off from US Highway 64, and this is not the last time we're going to be seeing it, because we will be seeing it once again, and 70 is going to be continuing east towards Hickory. Here we are meeting with 321 in Hickory, and for some random reason, NC Dot just decided to go totally rogue and not give us anything for 70 between here and Hickory and Statesville. So, come on NC Dot, why would you do that to your second longest US highway in the state? But on our way towards Statesville, we actually meet with North Carolina Highway 10, which will... Anyways, here in Statesville, we're meeting with US 64 for a second time, and we're now going to be heading around the city. 64 and 90 are going to be heading into the city. Here I'm meeting with US Highway 21, along with North Carolina Highway 15 on the outskirts of Statesville. And here I'm meeting with Interstate 77. And do not be fooled, Salisbury is our control city, while 77 South is getting signed for Charlotte, which is definitely the correct choice. Anyways, here on the outskirts of Salisbury, we're actually meeting with US Highway 601, and we're being concurrent with it as we head towards downtown Salisbury. And we're now meeting with US Highway 29 as we're getting signed both for Salisbury and China Grove. Here is a cool picture of downtown Salisbury, because I don't know when the next time I'm going to be doing a US 29 video. And then 2970 also go through downtown Spencer, and here in Spencer we actually pass by the North Carolina Transportation Museum. So this actually looks pretty interesting. After going through Spencer, we are now meeting with Interstate 85 and US 52, and we're getting signed for Greensboro, which definitely is the correct choice. And here's my own picture of 52, 29, and 70 splitting off from Interstate 85, as they're getting signed for Lexington and Winston-Salem, which definitely are the correct choices, and so is 85's choices for Greensboro and High Point. Here is where 29 and 70 splits off from 285 and 52 as they head towards Winston-Salem, and we're now getting signed for High Point. So what happened to Lexington? I mean, High Point's still a good choice, but I prefer to see both Lexington and High Point because that's what it was signed on 85. Here in Lexington, we're meeting with US 64 for a third time. Oh boy. So the longest US highway and the second longest US highway meet multiple times here in the state of North Carolina. That's pretty funny. And here's where US 64 splits off from 29 and 70 as it heads toward Asheboro, and we're heading towards High Point. And we finally get another mileage sign after who knows how long, with High Point as our primary from 18 miles away. Hey NC Dot, Interstate 68 called. They want their nickname back, please. And for some reason, we don't get a mention that US 70 is also exiting here to become concurrent with North Carolina Highway 68. We just get North Carolina 68. Anyways, once we got to the ramp for North Carolina 68, we get a rare instance of NC Dot using Clearview font. So that is pretty weird. Anyways, on North Carolina 68, we're now meeting with 74 as it's being signed for Winston-Salem and Asheboro, which I think are good choices. And now, here's where US 70 splits off from North Carolina 68 as it's heading onto Windover Avenue and towards Greensboro. Here in the outskirts of Greensboro, we're meeting with 73 and US Highway 421 here as they're also getting signed south for Asheboro. And we can see in the distance that 73 and 421 are also getting signed for Winston-Salem. Here we are meeting Interstate 40 on the outskirts of Greensboro still. And then US 70 actually becomes a freeway within the city limits of Greensboro. And we're now meeting with US Highway 220 here. And you're also meeting with US Highway 29 as 29 is being signed for Reedsville. On the eastern side of Greensboro, we're meeting with Interstate 785 and 840 and... What?
You are perfect! Why are you so beautiful?
This is unheard of here in North Carolina. You know what I had to give this? Yeah, I'd have to give this like 700 rare W's because literally this is like a really rare instance of here in North Carolina. This is totally awesome. On the other side of that interchange, we're not getting signed east for Burlington, which makes... On the outskirts of Burlington, we're actually meeting with North Carolina Highway 54, the western terminus of the highway, as it's being signed for Chapel Hill Road, and will take you towards Chapel Hill. And here in downtown Burlington, we're meeting with North Carolina 87, along with North Carolina Highway 100 here. And then, as we get closer towards Durham, we're actually meeting with North Carolina 86, which will also take you into Chapel Hill, and will actually go right by UNC campus, Chapel Hill. And we get a one line here after passing by North Carolina 86 with Durham as our only line from 12 miles away. This is a good job by NC Dot. And here's where we meet with Interstate 85, and we're going to become concurrent with it as we head towards Durham. And I'm going to be skipping this concurrency because we've seen it in the 85 videos not so long ago. And here's where 70 splits off from 885 to join 885 as we're now getting signed for Raleigh, which definitely is the correct choice. And actually from this point on to Morehead City is the part of the US 70 that I have been on personally. Here is where 70 technically splits off from 885, but 885 is the one going to be taking the east end connector, while 70 is going to be continuing straight. And then on the outskirts of Raleigh, we're meeting with 540 at exit 4, and it's being signed for Wake Forest and the airport, which is literally just like 2 exits down the road. And we're also getting an exit for Lumley Road and Westgate Road. Interesting. And on our way towards downtown Raleigh, we actually passed by William B. Umstead State Park, which is actually a pretty cool state park. Anyways, here in the outskirts of Raleigh, we're meeting with North Carolina Highway 50 in front of Crabtree Mall here. And we can see that there is a pull-through for 440 up ahead. As 440 is getting signed a whole lot of stuff. And we're now just getting signed for Glenwood Avenue, which is what 70 and 50 are known for here in Raleigh, along with downtown, so which is definitely the correct choice. Here in downtown Raleigh, we're actually going to be joined with the US 401 here, which is pretty cool. And here is downtown Raleigh, and we finally get to experience on a highway that isn't US 401. And then after going through downtown Raleigh, we're meeting with Interstate 40 for a bajillionth time again, along with US 64 for like a 4th time, at exit 298. Anyways, down the road, US 401 splits off from 70 and 50, and this time we're going to be following 70 and 50, and sadly not 401. Even though 401 is a cool and wonderful road, we're going to be following 70. And then our next pilot time, we get Smithville as our primary from 26 miles away. This is where US 70 and North Carolina 50 split, as 50 will take you down into Benson, while 70 will take you to Smithfield. And this picture was taken by me a few months ago when I went through the Gardner area. And still in Gardner, we're actually meeting with Interstate 40, again my own picture, and it's being signed for Raleigh, Benson, and Smithfield. Literally, we just passed by the highway that was being signed for Benson. 40 does not need to be signed for Benson, and we got take Benson off of 40. And here's where 70 splits off from Interstate 40. And yes, as of like a few months ago, this sign has been put up. It's just Google Street View that has not been through here yet. And this is for 540 and 42. And this here is actually on Interstate 42 itself. It's just, once again, Google Street View hasn't came by this area, as we're meeting with North Carolina 42. And I'm guessing in the near future this will become North Carolina Highway 36. And personally, I'd love to see Fuquay here for 42 as well, not just Clayton. Anyways, here's my own picture of 70 meeting Interstate 95 and Smithfield, as it getting signed north for Wilson. I prefer to see Richmond and south for Benson. No, that should be Fayetteville. And here's my own picture of a mileage sign with Goldsboro on the bottom line at 21 miles away. And this here is a picture of 42 actually being signed here on the Goldsboro bypass, as 70 proper is going to be entering into the city of Goldsboro itself. And here you are meeting with 795 and 70 East is not getting signed for Kinston. No, that should be New Bern, not Kinston, while 117 is being signed south for Wilmington. While proper 117 gets signed for Mount Olive, so why in the world are they favoring the 13 proper? There should be Wilmington and Mount Olive. While 13 is actually be concurrent with us, and this is the part of US 13 that I have been on personally. So here is where US 13 splits off from US Highway 70, as it's being signed for Snow Hill and Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. And I've actually visited this Air Force Base here in Goldsboro, because I also went to see a cool Air Force show called Wings Over Wayne a few years ago. So if they ever come back in town, I definitely would like to recommend it. It was a pretty cool show. Anyways, after going through Goldsboro, we get another mileage time with New Bern as our primary from 48 miles away. And then here in Kinston, we are meeting with US 258, and we're going to become concurrent with it as we bypass the city. And here I'm meeting with North Carolina Highway 11 and 55 in Kinston. And this is where 258 splits off from US 70, and North Carolina 58 is now going to become concurrent with us here. And our next mileage time, we get Moorhead City as our primary from 68 miles away, which I think is the correct choice, because that is our last major significant town that we're going to be passing through, despite it only having like 9 or 10,000 people. Here you are meeting with US Highway 17 on the outskirts of New Bern, and 17 North is going to be joining with us as we head towards New Bern. And here's where 17 splits off from US 70. And once again, we are going to be following 70 this time, as it's being signed east for Havelock and Moorhead City. But our next mileage sign, NC is pulling a weird trickery here, because we have Havelock and Cherry Point at the same distance with Atlantic Beach US 70 doesn't even go to Atlantic Beach, NC Dot. What's happened to Morehead City? We were being signed for Morehead City. Now you're just trying to switch it up and signing something on North Carolina 58 on Emerald Isle? Come on, NC Dot. Why do you have to be so bad? We're actually meeting with North Carolina Highway 24, and 24 will actually take you back over to Charlotte, but it is not the fastest way. And then here is the reason why we were being signed for Atlantic Beach is because of North Carolina 258, or the bridge over to it, and we're not getting signed east for Beaufort, which I think is an alright choice. Here on the outskirts of Beaufort, we're meeting with North Carolina Highway 101, and it'll take you over to the Beaufort Regional Airport. And we get our last mileage sign, we get Atlantic now on the top line, and Cedar Island Ferry as our primary. But I think that's for North Carolina Highway 12, not for us. Here are meeting the western terminus of North Carolina Highway 12, as North Carolina 12 will be continuing north and follow the Outer Banks and the shoreline here, while 70 is going to be turning east towards Atlantic. And after going through a very rural area, US 70 actually ends here in the city of Atlantic. And sadly, this is from 2015, as current day, there is no end US 70 sign. So I don't know why NC Dot has not replaced it. So anyways, we end US Highway 70 and move on to the places that I'd visit. So these are the places that I'd visit that are at least 1.5 hours from me. So places like Raleigh, Durham, Smithfield, Goldsboro, etc., they don't count because they're only like an hour to 45 minutes away from me. So these are all the places that I visit. They're at least an hour and a half away from me. I hope you guys can also recommend some more places if you live along the US 70 corridor. And that ends US Highway 70. Thank you guys so much for watching this video on US Highway 70 eastbound. I know it was a bit longer than expected, but there was just a lot of cool stuff that I wanted to show on this highway. Plus there was a lot of stuff in Raleigh that I did want to mention about in eastern North Carolina because that is the most part of US 70 that I'm familiar with. Anyways, here are my next few highways coming up. If you have any requests for any of these next upcoming highways, please let me know in the comment section down below and I'll make sure to shout you out. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all in Tennessee next week as we do the 70 split routes.